Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo Story. Pakistan Army Chief General Asim Munir has done it again. He has accused India of carrying out two unprovoked attacks under the guise of counter-terrorism. Now, this is not the first time that Asim Munir has in fact made such statements. If you remember, this is actually the second time he has made such statements. On an earlier occasion, he spoke about the two nation theory and how Hindus and Muslims were distinct. And days later, there was a terrorist attack in Pahalgam in which 26 civilians were mercilessly killed by the terrorists. And today, Asim Munir has yet again spewed venom against India and glorified terrorism as a legitimate struggle. To get a sense of why Asim Munir is doing this and what are the other dynamics in the India-Pak equation right now, we're joined by Major General Dhruv Katoch, who is the Director of India Foundation. Welcome to Mojo Story, sir. I first want to play a short clip of Asim Munir before we can start. Okay, I'm told that it's just being made. It will take a few seconds. But General Dhruv Katoch, what is the sense that you make? This is not the first time that it made such statement. It is the second time. And on an earlier occasion, just days later, there was this Pahalgam incident. One gets a sense that he's trying to the domestic problems, the problems in Pakistan, he's trying a diversion by making such statements. Remember, there was a big attack in Waziristan a few days ago in which many Pakistani soldiers were killed. He's not talking about that, but he's rather focused and fixated on India. What is the sense that you get of this?
Thank you, Zafar. Zafar, I think that what Field Marshal Munir is really facing is a crisis of confidence of his armed forces within the country. There is a sense which I'm getting that, within the people of Pakistan, the aura in which they used to hold the Pakistan army as if, the Pakistan army is there to protect them, that is gradually withering away. And we are seeing that impact in Pakistan. Now, one of the things, or rather two things I'll say, when he went to the United States, and it was, a great deal was made of the fact that the Pakistan Army chief was having lunch with the President of the United States. Now, at that time only, it was my view that it wasn't an invite which the US President had given him. It was a summons. He had been called. And he had been called for a specific purpose. Because the US is very transactional, especially President Donald Trump. And they wanted certain things from Pakistan, and they wanted that a delivery to be done by the military because the political establishment as it is cannot deliver. So
Right.
the delivery was really based to what action the US and Israel intended to take against Iran. There are many things which have been unsaid, which we really don't know. But ultimately, they wanted Pakistan to back out from what was happening in Iran. That was the bottom line. And that message was delivered very clearly. Of course, they would have offered him some aid and some lollipops here and there. But that was the underlying aim. The second thing which took place in the United States was a very large number of people of Pakistani origin came out in the streets and they publicly defamed Asim Munir. They were, the amount, the posters which were put up by the Pakistanis themselves against this man gives an idea of the resentment which they feel against him. They feel that he's directly responsible for what has happened, in the 4 days conflict which he had with India, the losses which they suffered. And that resentment is also brewing now inside Pakistan. So this is the background, when I'm looking at the background. Now, as you very rightly mentioned, just a few days back, I think 24 or 48 days back, ambush takes place and about 12 to 14 soldiers lose their lives, Pakistani soldiers. This is not the first time it has happened. It has happened earlier and earlier and earlier. And if you continue counting, I'm just talking about 2025, this particular year, the number of service personnel of the Pakistan Army and their security establishment who have lost their lives is tremendous. Now, again, he's being held directly responsible. What has the army done to protect them from such acts of violence? And the talk is going around within Pakistan. If the army cannot defend itself, how can they defend the people of Pakistan? Now, within this backdrop, I think he finds himself in a very tight corner. And in Pakistan, I have noticed it is not something new. Anytime, if you take your mind back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, right from 1971 onwards, whenever they wanted to impose a certain level of unity within the country, it was always to find an external source to hit out at. And India becomes that source. So India is
Right.
the enemy. And so long as India is the enemy, Pakistan, Pakistan's security is dependent on the Pakistan army. So the Pakistan army is relevant to Pakistan. You see,
Right.
Pakistan, this is the only country where the army has made itself responsible not only for the physical, for protecting the physical frontiers of the country, but for protecting the ideological frontiers of the country. And
Right.
no other
It's
army
said
does
that
that
it,
except for
it,
the
it is
Pakistan
said
army.
that it is said that while other countries have an army, in Pakistan it's the army that has a country. But let's go back to Asim Munir and what he said. We have a very short clip that we want to play before we can speak further.
On both occasions, their recklessness was met with Pakistan's resolute response, which not only preserved national honor but also averted a dangerous broader regional escalation.
What is he saying, General Katoch? That two times that there was aggression, according to him, from India. Which are these two times? We know that Operation Sindoor happened. There was a context. There was a Pahalgam terror attack. What followed was India's response, and that Operation Sindoor was mainly focused on dismantling the terror infrastructure. But since Pakistani military retaliated, then that sort of escalated and it continued for a few days till Pakistan requested for a ceasefire, and that ceasefire happened. So one doesn't understand what he's talking about.
No, I think he's really playing to a particular audience within Pakistan. It is not, he's not talking to the Indian audience. And, when he refers to earlier instances, he's also referring to the Balakot airstrike, to the surgical
Yeah,
airstrike, where he
yeah,
says India carried out unprovoked aggression. Now, perhaps he may not be referring to the surgical strikes because Pakistan denied those strikes had even taken
right,
place. But
right,
Balakot could not be denied because it took place
yeah,
within their territory, right, 100 kilometers deep inside Pakistan. So that could now he's referring to that also as an unprovoked act of aggression. But we have made it very clear to him repeatedly, to the Pakistani establishment and to the Pakistan military, that listen, you have to stop acts of terror emanating from your soil. That is the bottom line. Now, India's approach has always been to, okay, to try to diffuse the matter, to get Pakistan in some manner to change their behavior.
yeah.
It has not worked so far. So now I think what has happened is with the with the action which was taken place, post the 7th May attacks, uh, what has taken place now? I beg your pardon. Post the 22nd April and the 7th May counter the actions launched by India. I think now he's getting perturbed because the new doctrine is in place in India. And the new doctrine very, very specifically states that when an act of terror takes place in India, we will not only target the terrorists, we will target their backers, which means we will target the Pakistan military. Earlier, if you notice that you very rightly brought out, when we took action, we only went for the terrorist camps, the 9 terrorist camps which were destroyed. Pakistan retaliated and then we took it up further. If they had not retaliated, the ceasefire was declared on the spot. We were not going to take it further till Pakistan actually showed their hand. And they showed the hand till finally they had to beg for peace. So I think what is really happening now is he is concerned with the new policy because this policy has got both a kinetic component and a non-kinetic component. The kinetic component, I think they can deal with in some measure or the other. It is the non-kinetic component which they are finding it very difficult to deal with.
You're referring to Indus Water
Indus
Treaty and
Water.
the
I'm
other
only referring to the
other.
Indus Water Treaty.
Yeah,
You see, because now we have made it explicitly clear to them that blood and water will not flow together. Now, with the Indus Water Treaty, and yes, it is true, as of now, we cannot divert those waters. But the question is, we can control the flows. We can increase the flows or decrease the flows because that control is with us. And we won't inform them. So the element of uncertainty which we have put into the Indus waters, especially with regard to the waters of the Chenab and the Jhelum rivers, is what is causing great concern into the heartland. That is the Punjabi heartland, and that is their core voter base. Now,
right.
those voter bases want them to change their attitudes. And we have told them we are absolutely prepared to be on the best of relations with Pakistan, but they have to give up terror. If they're not willing to do so, we are not going to compromise. And they desperately want talks, which we are not going to give them. So, we are coming down to a situation by which they are getting hemmed in. Now, to break out, he wants to involve everybody else, especially the United States, into a bilateral issue. And I think it is the desperation on the part of the Pakistan Army chief to get into a bilateral, to get the United States and other powers involved in a bilateral dispute, which will give them some wriggling room. But India has made it very clear, whether it is Donald Trump or anybody else, this is a bilateral issue and no other country has got any role to play. So he will try from his side. That is their prerogative. It's an independent country. We can't tell them what to do. But from our side, the stance is clear. I think he is trying to provoke another conflict. They are in a very poor situation. They cannot really do so. But if he has to remain relevant, if he has to remain in power, then he will do anything. And he can even go to this extent. The Pakistan polity is very, very weak today. Shehbaz Sharif is really not in a position to control the narrative. The very fact that he was not summoned by Donald Trump, it was the chief
Yeah,
who was summoned, also put his stature down. So when I'm looking at the
but
Pakistani
but
polity,
but but but, but General Khatoj, does it matter to them? Everybody knows that they are a puppet government. The person who won the election, the one who is the most popular leader of that country, has been jailed for 3 years. There was open rigging done and he was defeated, Imran Khan. Now, everybody knows it's an open secret. So it does not matter. I don't think it should matter to them if Asim Munir is called by Donald Trump rather than Shehbaz Sharif because everybody knows the reality. But coming to that point, there are a lot of backlash that Pakistani army has been facing because of the way that they dealt Imran Khan, the way that he was jailed and his cases were slapped on him and his election symbol was taken away, his party was broken. All of that cannot be brushed aside. Maybe a conflict with India has helped Asim Munir and army to gain some position in that country because they are now projecting themselves as the sole saviors of that country. But it is not going to last forever because the undercurrent, the problem of politics remains as such.
you see the attacks which were carried out by India in May, the 4 days of conflict, can we call it? Yes, you are right. It served the purpose of uniting Pakistan, and that always happens. In any war, regardless of the polity concern, the whole country stands united. If you look at Iran, there was a very severe division within within the Iranian people, as far as the Mullah Raj was concerned. But once it came to a war with Israel, they united. But that is temporarily, though. Off goes the war, the peace comes in, the same fissures return. Now there is peace between India and Pakistan. Those fissures have come back again.
Yeah.
That I'm afraid that these people, they are not comprehending the basics. They are not comprehending the basics, that the problem doesn't lie between the Pakistani problem is not India. The Pakistani problem lies within Pakistan, and it relates to three issues. One is their economy, which is going down. Second is their internal security, which they have not been able to handle. And third is their political instability, which is the most serious of them all. And that political instability has been caused by him deliberately putting Imran Khan in jail, who would have won the election despite the rigging. You see, despite
Absolutely.
everything,
No,
he was
no.
still winning the elections, and then they,
Why?
they
Why?
rigged it further. So
I,
they have
I
their
said
problems
this in
now.
the
If they don't
General
address their
Saab,
problems,
I said this. I said this in the context of
yeah,
when you said that perhaps he could instigate another conflict with India. I said it in that context
yes,
that for his own relevance, for the relevance of General uh, Munir, because he was about to retire or he had perhaps retired. They gave him an extension, and now perhaps he has got a lifelong extension because now he is the field marshal. So he has to maintain that position. And if a conflict with India helps that cause, he might well take it.
you see, I think now there is a possibility. Basically, I think there are two reasons why he might like to go in for a conflict. One is again to achieve that internal unity within the Pakistani society, and then he tells them, "Listen, India is the aggressor. Again, they are doing what they are doing, and we're a poor country, and this is what they are doing." This is one. Number two is to get the foreign powers involved, and then he will again get on with the nuclear bluff to, okay, we are two nuclear powers, and the world's security is at stake, etc., etc. So world powers must come in. Now
Yeah.
that is going to be his game plan, but it won't work. That the whole point is it's not going to work. Their army is too weak to fight, and we are not going to get caught by by his gambit to by whatever game he's playing. India will not play Pakistan's game. We will play according to our own set of conditions what we want to play, and Pakistan will have to follow that rule book. So, despite his attempts at trying to create this sort of a environment within Pakistan, it is not going to work. And I'm afraid that the problem in Balochistan and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is going to get worse day by day. You will find, I think, within a month or so, rebellion will start coming out within the ranks of the Pakistan army because they are having a very rough time. And there's a difference, there's one small difference which I would like to state, which many people are not getting. In Pakistan, if the military does not want to fight with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and theoretically they don't want to fight because they are afraid, they have a very strong moral argument against it. And their moral argument against it is these are our fellow Muslims, and as a Muslim army, we will not fight against our brother Muslims. So they've got a very strong moral argument not to fight, even if it may arise out of cowardice or out of anything else. And that is actually playing out. We are finding elements within the Pakistan army who have absolutely no desire to fight in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and they're also getting a hammering now in Balochistan. So all those factors are playing out, and to again instill a sense of nationalism, to instill a sense of that pride within the army. Well, a war with India, or at least a small altercation with India, certainly will come to Asim Munir's, to help him out in the current imbroglio. That is what he will try, but very frankly, it's not going to work. I think sooner rather than later, their internal political fissures will come out in the open, and then you will. It is quite possible that people on the streets may revolt against the army. The generals themselves may like to have a change. They don't want Munir there to be permanent. Permanent. So let's see as to how it plays out.
I think we saw a sample of that when Imran Khan was still out, and he was possibly put behind the bars, and that was a reaction that people started, gearing the general headquarters in Rawalpindi and attacking military installation. There was a sample of that was seen in the past. But how do you factor in Donald Trump and America in all of this? Because Donald Trump called him in his office, then he said he's a very impressive general in his own style. He said it. He said that. And he spoke about mediation not once, but several times. He said that he ended the war. In fact, it's now a routine. He's making those statements every other day that he says that he stopped the war between India and Pakistan. How do you factor in that thing that Donald Trump and America and foreign powers in the India-Pak equation?
No, you see, I'm quite certain Donald Trump called them into Pakistan specifically because of what they wanted to do in Iran. They wanted to use Pakistani airspace and their facilities. And they did it. Pakistani airspace was used to hit at Iran. Now, that is the bottom line. So, Donald Trump will say whatever he has to say, that okay, Pakistanis are good, they are friends, they are great people, we can trust and all that. That is part of it. What America does for American interests, I think they will continue to do. So America is not really interested in either India or Pakistan. They are interested in America's self-interest, and we must understand that. Americans play, or at least especially Donald Trump, he plays to his interest, to what they want, and they will use everybody else to get it. Now, Pakistan is playing by the American playbook. India is not going to play by that playbook, so it doesn't matter what he does. Donald Trump will try, it won't work. He desperately wants the Nobel Prize for peace. He may get it, he may not get it. The way it is going, well, we really don't know. But that is not the point. In this particular case, he even tried in his first term as president of the United States to mediate between India and Pakistan. It didn't work. We told him that time no. We told him again no. And it doesn't matter how he may keep asking. He may ask a dozen times he'll be told no. The External Affairs Minister keeps saying the same thing again and again, that it's not going to work. Now it's up to them to listen. But for his side, I think they will try. I very frankly, Zafar, I'm not too concerned about what the Americans' skin is in this game. Americans will do
Right.
what they have to do. We have to understand that. I appreciate America for looking after their self-interest. We will look after our self-interest. India is not going to compromise. So the only
Right.
country amongst the three which is compromising is Pakistan, and they're getting nothing out of it, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Uh, but they are seeking relevance, which perhaps they think they're getting out of all of this, maybe temporarily. That might be their, and result of all of this that they might be desiring for. But the thing is that, there is this attack in Waziristan, there's a terrorist attack there, and Pakistan blames India. The MEA has come up with a strong statement. Uh, Obviously, that is the statement by MEA. They're saying that MEA rejects Pakistan Army claims. A statement deserves contempt. So that is the MEA statement. Do you also see this now Pakistani attempt to whatever is happening in that country to give it a spin and link it to India one way or the other?
Frankly, Zafar, they have been doing it for quite some time. Within
Yeah,
Pakistan, if you read the local newspapers, every
yeah,
single attack which happens in Waziristan or in Balochistan, they say India is involved. And within the Pakistani society, they know it is not India, it is their own people, because these attacks have been going on for the last 30 years. The Balochistan problem started in 1948 itself. So it is not something which is new, something which is new as far as the Pakistani is concerned. And the Waziristan problem has been as old as, the Afghans don't want to accept the Durand line, and the Pashtuns are on either side. So everybody knows that is that area which is the problem of Pakistan. Now, for India to actually say that okay, we are, for them to say India is doing it, I mean, we have got no access to that land. When we are talking of the Pakistani hand in Kashmir, we can tell you the routes, we can tell you the people, the conversation which is taking place between the terrorists who have come to attack and the handlers in Pakistan. We have captured those people. They can't do any of that. We've got nothing to do with what is happening in Balochistan or what is happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And very frankly, I have also made the statement that it's got nothing to do with India. Very frankly, it's got nothing to do with any country in the world. So if Americans think they can bring peace in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or the Russian or the Chinese, all of them will
yeah.
lose, because it is an internal problem of Pakistan. The only people who can bring peace there are the Pakistanis themselves. And for that, you require political statesmanship, which is lacking in the present polity. And even if Imran Khan comes back, I'm afraid he doesn't have it. So they have serious concerns. Those concerns are going to remain. And we just, as far as India is concerned, we have to live with the recalcitrant neighbor. We'll handle them. And they will keep talking in that same language. They will use threatening language. They will try to threaten the bomb. They will try to do whatever they have to do. We'll take it. We are a responsible power, but we will react in the manner which we see fit. And Pakistan, I think, is aware of that.
Right. But nevertheless, there are lessons to be learned. One of the lessons, perhaps, is to keep the guard up and to prevent incidents from happening in the first place rather than taking an action after the incident happened. I think that is one area where there is a massive challenge and more needs to be done about it. With, like, say, Amarnath Yatra is round the corner. The passes are open right now. There's no snow that's blocked the passes. Infiltration routes are open. Infiltrators are coming in. They're getting killed. Possibly some infiltration attempts are successful. Weapons are being dropped from drones. So all of those are things where more focus and more attention need to be given.
I've spent a large part of my life there when I was in service in those areas.
Yeah, yeah,
And beyond a certain point, you have done the maximum you can.
yeah,
So, out of some infiltration attempts, especially if they are supported by the Pakistan Army, some will get
yeah,
through. And now with drones
yeah,
coming through, it's very easy to send a weapon across. A drone just goes, deliver it at a spot, and comes in. But the measures which we have taken are very effective, very frankly. The most important measure which has been taken was the abrogation of 370, because that
yeah,
that changed the security environment within the valley. And now the number of incidences that we have seen, they will keep going down. To say they will reduce to zero, I don't think it's going to happen, regardless of what we do. But what is happening now is that the public, as far as JNK is concerned, they are getting against Pakistan, and that has become very evident. Now it is that fear that if the people of Jammu and Kashmir are going to be totally anti-Pakistan, where does Pakistan go? That is their fear. So they want to resurrect it. It's not going to work. From their side, they will try. There will be some odd incidences. They will continue to occur despite the action we took post Pahalgam. Despite Operation Sindoor, they will still do something. We'll handle it. If required, we'll punish them more. But at some point of time, this combination of kinetic effort from India's side, along with the non-kinetic measures like restricting access to the citizens and controlling the river waters, is going to have a very, very serious impact, and we will compel them to change their behavior. This is the policy which has changed from dissuasion to deterrence, and now it is on to compellence. They will be compelled. And because they will be compelled, rest assured, within a year or 2 years, Jammu and Kashmir will be totally at peace, because the consequences to Pakistan will be very, very heavy. I think they understand
yeah.
that language now.
Right. And you can see on that screen, this is the Chenab River, and those are, I think it is Baglihar, uh, where the river is, sort of moved away for a water turbine. But that is the way that flow of water can be regulated and is being regulated. But I wanted to ask you, General Saab, in the end, the SEO meeting where the defense minister did not sign the joint statement, that was also a signaling that unless and until terrorism within India is taken seriously, it is not going to work. At least India is not going to uh, take any statement which does not mention that or refer to that, because people in India are getting killed, innocents are getting killed, and that is something that India takes very seriously.
No, in the SEO statement, I think we did something we took very strong action. And I'm so proud of the country for having done that. Now, what China has been doing for a very long time, because China is always in the picture, they have been
Yeah,
using Pakistan in their proxy war against India. So really, when we are, while it is a direct war between India and Pakistan,
yeah,
with the use of terrorism, they are
yeah,
acting as China's proxies also. Now, we
yeah,
have made it very clear to them it's not going to work. And whether China accepts it or not is up to them. But the messaging from India has been very clear. And SCO cannot be used as a forum to promote a dialogue on this issue which sidelines Pakistani actions,
right.
which try to whitewash Pakistani actions as a terrorist state. And that message, I think, has gone across very clearly. And hopefully, there'll be more such messages to follow. I think at some point of time, even China will be forced to change its behavior. Otherwise, they will be on the losing streak. Especially China is getting very perturbed now, the way Pakistan is cozying up to the United States under pressure from Donald Trump. And that is not to the Chinese liking. But
Yeah,
Pakistan will extract the pound of flesh from the Chinese. They will extract
yeah,
the pound of flesh from the Americans. I'm afraid they will not be able to extract any pound of flesh from the Indians. We are going to give it to them with compound interest, and that is their concern.
right.
Zafar.
Thank you so much, General Dhruv Katuj, for joining us today and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks to our viewers for watching the Mojo Story. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Zafar.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.